and other relatives, to help them also be qualified to go back to the spiritual world. We are not meant to live in the material world. The material world is a nasty place because it's full of birth, old age, disease, and death. Nobody likes those things. But yet, we're forced to experience those things, and ultimately, if we haven't tried to be Krishna conscious throughout life, the moment of death is the most fearful and painful moment of our life. On the other hand, the moment of death is the best moment for the devotee, because all his life, the devotee's life, has been spent in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and eating only Krishna prasad. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. So the devotee is purified by Krishna conscious activities throughout his whole life. And at the moment of death, he can easily remember Krishna and go back to the spiritual world. But materialistic people cannot remember Krishna. They'll remember all the nasty things they did, all the sex they had, all the money they had, and all the different arguments they've had, but they won't be able to think of Krishna. But a devotee always thinks of Krishna, right from childhood. If the devotee is born in a good family, one is trained in Krishna consciousness, and throughout life one practices Krishna consciousness, and at the moment of death one can remember Krishna and go back to the spiritual world. Now let's say you're 50 years old and you did not know anything about Krishna. That's okay. You can start to know by coming to the temple on a regular basis and learn every week more and more about Krishna, and especially learn to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This Maha Mantra is the panacea, meaning the all-encompassing, what you would call all-encompassing way to become spiritually purified. The whole purpose of chanting Hare Krishna is to purify ourselves of all nasty thoughts and replace all those nasty thoughts with thoughts of love and devotion for Krishna. At that point, we become completely Krishnized, and we'll be able to chant Hare Krishna happily, dance, have nice prasadam, and not be worried about anything, because at that point, Krishna promises that his devotee will never perish. That means that he will always protect his devotee and make sure that at the moment of death, his devotee can remember Krishna and go back to the spiritual world. So there's a real, let's say, asset to become Krishna conscious, either early on in life, or in middle life, or near the end of life. We should become Krishna conscious. That will solve all our problems. So, I'm just going to chant a little bit of Hare Krishna now, and then I'm going to have a little bit of a discussion, and you will be able to also ask questions. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna
Ready?
Krishna
Faster.
Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Bolo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Bolo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Bolo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Haribo Haribo.
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Haribo, Haribo.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Ram Hare Hare,
Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Hare,
Krishna Hare Hare.
Ram Hare Hare,
Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Hare.
Bolo Ram Hare Hare,
Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hey,
Hare
Bolo
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Haribo, Haribo.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Haribol, 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 Haribol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Bolo Haribol, 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 Haribol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandrachaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Bola Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandrachaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Chandrachaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gaura Bhaktivinoda, Gaura Bhaktivinoda.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gaura Bhaktivinoda, Gaura Bhaktivinoda.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare
Hey, bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Ram Hare Hare.
Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Rama
Hare Rama
Hare Rama
Hare Rama
Rama Rama
Rama
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol.
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Bola Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Hari Bol.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare,
Hari Bol.
Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Bolo Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hari Bol Nita Gaura Hari Bol. Nita Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol Nita Gaura Hari Bol. Nita Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nita Gaura Hari Bol. Nita Gaura Premanandi Ki ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki jai. Oh, the battery's down. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. So today is the remembering of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, on his appearance day. He was one of the most, let's say, one of the most persons who resuscitated, who brought alive again the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. During his time, the chanting of Hare Krishna had become very, very weakened. And there were many rascals who claimed to be devotees, but actually they were sense gratifiers, engaging in all kinds of miserable activities and making a laughing joke of Vaishnavism. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura was challenged by these nonsense people who were making basically what it was, that they were engaging in sinful activities, at the same time claiming that they were devotees. And this was like terrible. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura was faced with the very overwhelming effort to bring Vaishnavism back to its original, let's say, original purpose, and that is to glorify Lord Krishna and engage in devotional service with love and devotion for the Lord. Not to make money, not to claim you're a Vaishnava, but engage in illicit sex and all kinds of cheating activity. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura had a very daunting purpose, but he was successful. Why? Because he was a pure devotee of Krishna and completely dependent on Krishna and didn't give up. Those are qualities of a genuine devotee. We completely depend on the mercy of Krishna and we don't give up. If you do that, Krishna will help you in all difficult situations. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakura was born let's see, when was he born? He was born in the 18th century. And he popularized the Sankirtan movement, or the congregational chanting of the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which is the most effective means of God realization for the present age of Kali Yuga, which is a time of rampant faithfulness. Kali Yuga means the worst time to be present in the material world because the majority of people, up to three-fourths plus people, are not interested at all in spiritual activities. So, therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur took up the great challenge of helping people become Krishna conscious again. And he, in a very major way, accomplished his goal. So after 1750, the influence of the Hare Krishna movement seemed to wane. Many sects of sahajiyas, cheap pseudo-devotees, sprouted up, each claiming to be the true purveyors of Vaishnava Dharma, the religion of Lord Krishna or Vishnu. Because of their bad character, the sahajiyas brought disrepute upon the pure movement of love of God begun by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the 1800s. An eternally perfect devotee of Krishna descended from the spiritual world to the material world to revive the Hare Krishna movement and to initiate its expansion beyond the borders of India. This was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Here's a picture of him right here. You can see. He was a very exceptional person. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was named Kedaradatta by his father. In the district of Nadia, he was the seventh son of Raja Krishnananda Datta, a great devotee of Lord Nityananda. He was also known as the great-grandson of Madana Mohana and the third son of his godfather, Ananda Chandra. He would be known as Daita Kulera Prahlada. Prahlada is the family of demons. This was because Vaishnavism was not very much respected in his family. On his mother's side, there was no respect for Vaishnavism at all. His childhood was spent at the mansion of his mother as maternal godfather, Mostofi Mahasaya, in Biranagara. His environment at that time was very opulent. He got his elementary education at the primary school started by his grandmother. Later, he attended an English school in Krishnanagara, started by the king of Nadia. He left that school when his older brother died unexpectedly of cholera. When he was 11 years old, his father passed away. Subsequently, the grant of land that had been conferred upon his grandmother changed owners. At that time, the family fell into a condition of poverty. Their great wealth proved to be illusory. Still, the young Kedaranath Datta passed over these difficulties with great endurance. His mother arranged a marriage for him when he was just 12 years old in 1850 to the then 5-year-old daughter of Madhusudana Mitra Mahasaya, a resident of Ranagata. Whenever children are married that young, although they're married, the girl doesn't live with the boy right away. They wait till the girl achieves puberty, and the boy, of course, achieves adulthood, and then they begin to live together. But they get married very early, as you see. The girl was 8 or 9 years old, and the boy was 13 years old, something like that. So they waited till both the girl and the boy grew older, and then the boy and girl lived together. It was a good system because there was no dating, there was no I love you, I hate you. The girl knew that she was married. and the boy knew that he was married. So their mind was not agitated by sex or dating or all that nonsense. Okay. And then when they did both achieve puberty, the boy was older, of course, and the girl was in puberty, in other words, at least 12, 13, 14 years old, then they would live together and begin to have a family. When Bhaktivinoda Thakura was 11 years old, his father passed away. Subsequently, the grant of land that had been conferred upon his grandmother changed owners. At this time, the family fell into a condition of poverty. Their great wealth proved to be illusory. Well, everybody is in that situation. At one point in our life, we might have a lot of money, and at another point in life, we have no money. See, so it's not a strange thing. Still, the young Kedarnath Dutt, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, passed over these difficulties with great endurance. That is the symptom of a great devotee. He is not discouraged by whatever happens, and he continues on the path of Krishna consciousness without being discouraged. His mother arranged a marriage for him when he was just 12. This is around 1850. To the then 5-year-old daughter of Madhusudana Mitra Mahasaya, a resident of Ranagata. Around this time, Kasi Prasada Ghosh Mahasaya Thakur, Kedarnath Dutt's uncle, who had mastered under the British education, in other words, he could speak very good English, came to Ula Grama after the death of his maternal grandfather. He schooled young Kedarnath, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, at his home in Calcutta. This was at first resisted by Kedarnath Dutt's mother, but by the time he was certain years old of age, he was allowed to go. In other words, at first the mother wouldn't let him go to be homeschooled, but after some time she gave up and he began to be homeschooled. You see, it's very good to be homeschooled instead of going to what you would call demoniac schools, to be poisoned by unholy teachings. What are those unholy teachings? What do children learn in school today? Well, they learn that you only live once, and when you die, there's nothing. That is enough to make anyone what you would call a non-believer. You only live once, and when you die, there's nothing. Have you ever heard that before, anybody? Yeah. I see some heads going like that. Yeah, this is what children are taught in school today. You only live once, and when you die, everything's over. So you don't have to worry about sins, because when you die, there's nothing. But that's not true. You never really die. You just change your body. But if you're sinful in this body, then in your next body, you'll end up being a cockroach or a bird or an ant. How would you like to have an ant's body in your next life, you see? So, better watch out. You better not cry. You better be good, because Santa Claus is coming to town. No. You better be good, because you can ruin your whole life by ignoring Krishna consciousness and just being a sense gratifier. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending like animals, and avoiding spiritual life. Not coming to lectures, not engaging in devotional service, thinking that you know everything, and associating with unholy people. By the way, that's the worst thing you can do in life, is to associate with unholy people. People who eat meat, who gamble, who have illicit sex, who intoxicate, who use bad language, etc. You should never, never associate with such people. They will corrupt you, And you will not be able to straighten yourself out unless you come in contact with a genuine devotee and take shelter of that devotee and learn from that devotee how to be Krishna conscious. When Bhaktivinoda Thakura was 11 years old, his father passed away. Subsequently, the grant of land that had been conferred upon his grandmother changed owners. At that time, the family fell into a condition of poverty. Their great wealth proved to be illusory. Still, the young Bhaktivinoda Thakura passed over these difficulties with great endurance. His mother arranged a marriage for him when he was just 12 years old to then 5-year-old daughter of Madhusudana Mitra Mahasaya, a resident of Rane Gata. Around this time, Kashi Prasada Ghosh Mahasaya Thakura, Kedaranath Datta's uncle, who had mastered under the British education, in other words, he had mundane education by the British, came to Ula Grama after the death of his maternal grandfather. He schooled young Kedaranath Datta, or Bhaktivinoda Thakura, at his home in Calcutta. This was at first resisted by Kedaranath Datta's mother, but by the time he was some years old of age, he was allowed to go and be homeschooled. Now you see, that was the process earlier on. Children were homeschooled by their parents or by relatives, or the parents would engage a teacher and to homeschool their children. That's much better than putting your child in a public school or a private school so that they can be completely trained to be a meat eater, gambler, illicit sexer, and so forth. The schools today teach kids to be not spiritually inclined, unfortunately. Now you might say, well, what if you send your kid to a Catholic school? Even in the Catholic school, there's a lot of nonsense going on. They have a problem just controlling those kids because those kids are growing up watching television, eating meat, and doing all these nonsense things. So they even have trouble trying to teach their kids to be spiritually inclined. So, I'm going to go forward to, at the age of 18, Bhaktivinoda Thakura entered college in Calcutta. He started writing extensively in both English and Bengali. These essays were published in local journals. He also lectured in both languages, English and Bengali. He further studied English literature at this time extensively and taught speech making to a person who later became a well-known orator in the British Parliament. Between the years 1857 and 1858, he composed a 2-part English epic entitled The Poriad, which he planned to complete in 12 books. These 2 books described the life of Porus, who met Alexander the Great. Obviously, he didn't finish the 18 books. Sriman Dvijendranath Thakur, the eldest son of Maharshi Devananda Natha Thakur, was Sri Kedaranath Datta, or Bhaktivinoda Thakura's best friend during these scholastic years. He assisted Bhaktivinoda Thakura in the studies of Western religious literatures. Affectionately, Bhaktivinoda Thakura used to call Devanranatha Thakur Baro Dada, a big brother. He was very taken by Christian theology. In other words, he was very impressed by Christian theology, meaning Bhaktivinoda Thakura, and regarding it more interesting and less offensive than Hindu monism, Advaita Vedanta of Sankaracharya. Well, I don't know if you have ever studied Sankaracharya and his philosophy, but it's very boring. And it's all about there's only one supreme person, and all living entities are illusory. They don't really exist, they are illusory. And one must merge into that one supreme person. And so it's an impersonal philosophy. Well, impersonal in the sense that there's only one person. There's not so many people in the world. And eventually that one person also, his identity is also erased, and everybody merges into the Brahman, or the light emanating in the universe. That's called Mayavad philosophy. Don't study it, because if you study Mayavad philosophy, you risk never understanding Krishna philosophy, because it does not teach people that you have an eternal life or eternal individual. It teaches that you merge into some kind of nebulous nonsense situation, and your identity is lost. Okay, so at the end of 1858, Bhaktivinoda Thakura returned to Biran Nagara and found the Muzi's prediction about that place to have come true. In other words, there was one Muslim Muzi, or some Muslim pundit, that had told Bhaktivinoda Thakur earlier on that his place of residence would be destroyed. And it actually happened. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur brought his mother and parental grandmother with him and left that place and went to Calcutta. Soon after, he went to Orissa to visit his paternal grandfather, Raja Vallabha Datta, who used to be a big man in Calcutta, who was now living as an ascetic in the Orissan countryside. His days were coming to a close. He could predict the future, so he knew it himself very well. He wanted, in other words, he knew he was going to die soon. He wanted Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to be with him when he departed this world, which he did in 1859. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur was 21 years of age, after receiving his grandfather's last instructions, he traveled to all the monasteries and temples in the state of Orissa. As a young householder, Srila Bhaktivinoda began to consider the question of the means of his livelihood. Yeah, how is he going to make a living? He's married, but how is he going to make a living? He was not interested in business, as he had seen how the apparent necessary dishonesty of the trade world due to competition for sales had morally weakened the merchant class. That's true today also. Their work ethics becoming removed from the principle of their work ethics becoming removed from the principles of mutually helping others, by which they would automatically be protected from failure to succeed, as well as being cooperatively assisted by the natural laws of compensation or karma. In other words, he could see that there was severe competition in the world of business, and it was not very nice. And it's the same thing today. So he didn't want to be a businessman. He decided instead to become a school teacher. He established a school for English education in the village of Kendrapara near Chuttagrama in Orissa, thus becoming a pioneer in English teaching in that state. He also could see the oppressive power wielded by the landowners of Chuttagrama. In other words, he could see the corrupt landowners After some time, he went to Puri and passed the teacher's examination. He got a teacher's post in a Kathak school, and later became headmaster of a school in Bhadraka and then in Madinipura. His dedicated work was noted by the school board authorities. In Bhadraka, his first son, Ananda Prasada, or Achyutananda, was born in 1860. He published a book that year also in English that described all the ashramas and temples in the state of Orissa. This book received favorable mention in the work called Orissa by British historian Sir William Hunter. Hunter praised Bhaktivinoda Thakur's moral and religious character, as everyone did. As the headmaster of Medinapura High School, Bhaktivinoda Thakura took into began to study various religious sects, their philosophies and practices. He could see that many of them were taking it all very cheaply. He came to understand that the only real religion that had ever been established in Bengal was that of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Unfortunately, at present, his movement was not well represented. Due to the misrepresentation and corruptions and influence of the upper sampradayas, this sincere soul, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, could not even get a copy of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita despite all his efforts. In other words, Vaishnavism had deteriorated to a very, very low position at that time. The Thakura, or Bhaktivinoda Thakura, made an onslaught against those who belonged to the upper sampradayas, that means sampradayas that are bogus, who were polluting Gaudiya Vaishnavas by basically 13 deviant philosophies: Ola, Bola, Kartabhaja, Neda, Dharavesha, Sani, Sahajiya, Sakibeki, Smarta, Jata Gosani, Ativadi, Chudadari, and Goranganagari. Those are different movements of Vaishnavas, and they were all corrupted. Those deviant groups, mostly because of their boldness, had been seen by the public as the Gaudiya Sampradaya, though actually none were following the pure Vaishnava regulative principles strictly, as laid down by the followers of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, namely the Goswamis. Being a follower of the Goswamis or not is interdependent on qualifying one to be a Gaudiya Vaishnava. So Lord Chaitanya had appeared 500 years before, and a couple hundred years later, Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared. But by that time, Vaishnavism had deteriorated to a very low level, and it was a joke. No one took the Vaishnavas seriously because they were engaged in all kinds of sinful activities. For more details, in the year 1861, Bhaktivinoda Thakur accepted the post of deputy magistrate in the government of Bengal. So he, for a bunch of years, went from one high level to another high level to a higher level, and he finally attained the highest level a Indian could achieve in the British, British system of advancement. Okay, so when he had the post of a deputy magistrate in the year 1866, Bhaktivinoda Thakur took the position of deputy register with the power of a deputy collector, meaning he can collect money, and deputy magistrate, meaning he is like a lawyer and in the district of Chapara. He also was known to have become quite fluent in Persian and Urdu. In a place called Saran in Chapara, a clique of tea planters made unjust demands of him. He successfully opposed them, and while at Saran, he visited the Gauta Mashrama at Godana, desiring to establish a school for teaching Nyaya Shastra. He delivered a speech there in 1866, which was well received. The school was in fact established, the foundation stone being laid in 1883 by Sir Rivers Thompson, after whom the school was named. Though Bhaktivinoda Thakura had no further part in the project after his speech, the talk he gave was instrumental in securing public aid for the school. Also in 1866, Bhaktivinoda Thakura translated the Balid Registry Manual into Urdu, which was circulated by the government throughout the United Provinces of Agra and Oud. So anyway, I'm not going to read all of this. He was going from one high-level magistrate to another, and he received very great respect by the British until he achieved the highest level a Hindu could achieve in the British system. Okay. Then eventually, Bhaktivinoda Thakura was able to receive copies of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita from Calcutta. He tried many years to find them, but eventually he did. He read Chaitanya Charitamrita repeatedly. His faith in Krishna consciousness developed until he was absorbed in the pure Bhakti Shastras day and night. He was incessantly submitting heartfelt prayers for the Lord's mercy. He came to understand the supreme majesty and power of the one and only absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. He published a song about Lord Chaitanya entitled Sachinanda Prema Lankara. In 1869, while serving as deputy magistrate under the government of Bengal in Dinajapur, he delivered a speech in the form of a treatise he had written on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now you can see that once he became spiritually inclined, he read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And when that happened, he completely became Krishnized. And because he was looking for the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, he couldn't find it. But eventually, because he was a magistrate, he eventually got hold of it. And he received copies of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Calcutta. He read Chaitanya Charitamrita repeatedly because his schedule was very, very, let's say, strict. He would have his dinner around 8 o'clock, and then right after dinner, he would go to sleep and wake up at 12 o'clock. And then all night long, he would translate from Hindi or from Sanskrit to English and study. And because of that, he became very highly educated. And he could understand how fallen the society had become in India. Therefore, he began to think how he could change the fallen state of his Indian brothers. So, when he was transferred to Purnia from Chapara, where he took charge of the government and judicial departments, he was then transferred to Dinajapur, or West Bengal. In 1868, becoming the deputy magistrate. At this time, he received copies of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita from Calcutta. He read Chaitanya Charitamrita repeatedly. That means many, many times. He read the whole Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. He read Chaitanya Charitamrita repeatedly. His faith in Krishna consciousness developed until he was absorbed in the pure Bhakti Shastras. Day and night, he was incessantly submitting heartfelt prayers for the Lord's mercy. He came to understand the supreme majesty and power of the one and only absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. He published a song about Lord Chaitanya entitled Sachinanda Prema Lankara. In 1869, while serving as deputy magistrate under the government of Bengal in Dinajapur, he delivered a speech in the form of a treatise he had written on the Srimad Bhagavatam to a big congregation of many prominent men of letters from many parts of India and England. He was transferred to Champarana, during which time his second son, Radhika Prasad, was born. In Champarana, people used to worship a ghost in a banyan tree, which had the power to influence the mind of the local judge to decide in favor of the worshipper. Sri Kedarnath Datta engaged the father of the Pandita, Ram Abai, a famous girl scholar, to read Srimad Bhagavatam under the tree where the ghost was, continuously by day and night. After 1 month, the tree crashed to the ground, and naturally, many people found faith in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That young lady was always reading the Srimad Bhagavatam under the tree where the ghost was living, and eventually the ghost fell down and probably died. Near the capital of Orissa, in the town of Kamanala, there lived a yogi named Bhishakisena, who would lean into a fire while sitting close by, then return to an erect sitting posture. In this way, he rocked back and forth over the flames. He could also produce fire from his head. He had 2 companions going by the names Brahma and Shiva. He claimed to be Mahavishnu. The small kings of Orissa came under his influence and were providing funds for the construction of a temple for the Triguna avatars. They also sent him women with whom he engaged in so-called Rasalila enjoyments, in other words, sex. Bhishakisena declared he'd drive off the British from ruling Orissa and himself would become king. He published such statements which were circulated all over Orissa. The British thought him a revolutionary for speaking out against the British Raj, or king. So the district governor of the national government of Bengal drew up arrest orders, but nobody in Orissa dared to act upon these orders, as they all feared Bhishakisena. Mr. Ravans Shaw, district commissioner for Orissa, an Englishman, requested Bhaktivinoda Thakura to bring Bhishakisena to justice. Sri Kedarnath Datta went personally to Bhishakisena. Bhishakisena showed him some powers that would normally scare the heck out of an ordinary man, and informed him that he knew well who he was and his mission. Now, his mission was to arrest the demon, but that since he, Bhishakisena, was the Lord, he'd better not interfere with him. That was enough for Sri Kedarnath Datta, or Bhaktivinoda Thakura, who replied by acknowledging Bhishakisena's accomplishments in yoga and tantra, and requested him to come to Puri, where he could have the darshan of Jagannatha. Bisakasena haughtily, in a very unmannerly way, said, "Why should I come to see Jagannatha? He is only a hunk of wood. I am the supreme in person." Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura became instantly furious and arrested the rogue, brought him to Puri, and threw him in jail, where he was guarded by 36 Muslim constables and 72 policemen from Cuttack, day and night. In other words, he was a very dangerous person. The accomplices to the divine trilogy, Brahma and Shiva, avoided arrest by claiming they'd been forced by Bisakasena to do as they'd done. In other words, the two nonsense people that were with the so-called incarnation of God. The fearless Bhaktivinoda Thakura tried Bisakasena in Puri. The trial lasted 18 days, during which time thousands of people whom he had control over gathered outside the courtroom, demanding Bisakasena's, the demon's, release. On day 6 of the trial, Kedarnath Datta's, or Bhaktivinoda Thakura's, second daughter, Kadambini, aged 7 years, became seriously ill and nearly died. But within a day, she had recovered. Sri Kedarnath Datta, or Bhaktivinoda Thakura, knew it was the power of the tantric yogi at work. He remarked, "Yes, let us all die, but this rascal must be punished." The very next day in court, the yogi announced he'd shown his power and would show much more. He suggested that Bhaktivinoda Thakura should release him at once or face worse miseries. On the last day of the trial, Bhaktivinoda Thakura himself became ill from high fever and suffered exactly like his daughter had done for one whole day. But the determined Bhaktivinoda Thakura pronounced the man guilty and sentenced him to 18 months for political conspiracy. When Bisakasena was being readied for jailing, one Dr. Walter, the district medical officer, cut off all the yogi's hair. Now that's very significant because yogis usually have very long hair and their powers are held in their hair. So if someone cuts off the hair of that type of a yogi, he loses all his powers. So this district medical officer cut off all the yogi's hair. The yogi drew power from his long hair. He hadn't eaten or drunk during the whole trial, so he fell to the floor like a dead man and had to be taken by a stretcher to jail. After 3 months, he was moved to the central jail at Midnapura, where he took poison and died there in the year 1873. Well, very good. The bad guy died. In Puri, Sri Kedarnath Datta, or Bhaktivinoda Thakura, studied Srimad Bhagavatam with the commentary of Sridhara Swami, who also copied out in longhand the Sat Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami, and made a special study of Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Between the years 1874 and 1893, Bhaktivinoda Thakura spent much time in seclusion, chanting the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He wrote several books in Sanskrit, such as Sri Krishna Samhita, Tattva Sutram, and Tattva Viveka, which we have cited in the early sections of this book. In other words, all those books, or some of those books, have been translated into English that you can read today. He wrote many books in Bengali, such as Kalyana Kalpa Taru. In 1874, he composted Data Koshubha in Sanskrit. Okay. While in Puri, he established a Vaishnava discussion society known as the Bhagavat Samsat in the Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, where Sri Ramananda Rai did bhajana. All the prominent Vaishnavas joined this group except for Raghunath Dasa Babaji, known as Siddha Purusha. He thought that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura was unauthorized. Now, this is not the same as Raghunath Dasa. This is a Raghunath Dasa Babaji. He thought that Bhaktivinoda Thakura was unauthorized, as he did not wear kantimala or tilaka. Moreover, he advised other Vaishnavas to avoid Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura's association. But soon after, Raghunath Das Babaji contracted a deadly illness for his offense. In a dream, Lord Jagannath appeared to him and told him to pray for the mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakura if he at all wanted to release from the illness and death. He did so. Bhaktivinoda Thakura gave him special medicines and cured him, and also blessed Raghunath Das Babaji with a true awareness of Bhaktivinoda Thakura's position. Others had a natural affection, like Sri Swarupa Das Babaji, who did bhajanas at Satasana near the ocean in Puri. He showed much affection for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura and gave him many profound instructions and insights from his own realizations on the bhajana of the holy name. Another person, Charan Dasa Babaji, preached and printed books advising that one should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in japa and Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham Hare Krishna Hare Ram in kirtana. Now that is unauthorized. It's bogus. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura preached long and hard to him. After a long time, Charan Dasa Babaji came to his senses and begged forgiveness from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, admitting his fault and spreading this nonsense mantra all over Bengal. 6 months later, Charan Dasa Babaji went mad, went crazy, and died in great distress. That's what happens when you make up a false mantra and you spread it all over the place. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura was one of this age's foremost devotional scholars, yet humbly presents himself as the insignificant messenger of the Lord, as we can note from the following message of his. The way how I got the inspiration to compile this book, Sri Srimad Bhagavata Arka Marich Imala, is a divine mystery which I felt not proper from my part to disclose, as it might be bridging spiritual conceit. But subsequently, I realized that it would be an undoing to my spiritual master, which might stand as an obstacle in the path of my spiritual progress. Therefore, without any shame, I record the fact that while under the benediction of my guru, Sri Bapin Bihari Goswami, who belonged to the great heritage of Thakur Vamshibadananda, a faithful follower of my Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I was deeply penetrating upon Srimad Bhagavatam one day in a vision. Sri Swarup Damodar, the right-hand personal adherent of Lord Sri Chaitanya, instructed me to compile the slokas of Srimad Bhagavatam in accordance with the principles of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, as laid down by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so that the book will read with an easy understanding, with great interest and delight by the loving devotees of the Lord. Sri Swarup Damodar Prabhu further guided me by giving a wonderful explanation of the first sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, and also showed me how I have to explain the slokas under the light of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Well, just see all the blessings that he had of all these great devotees and of Krishna himself, so that he could write so many nice shastras. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura became manager of Jagannath Puri Temple. He used his government powers to establish regularity in the worship of the deity. In Jagannath Puri Temple courtyard, he established a Bhakti Mandapa, where daily discourses of Srimad Bhagavatam were held. That's nice. We should have a Bhakti Mandapa also. Well, we do. It's in the temple room. So, it says, he would spend long hours discussing Krishna and chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Especially at Tota Gopinatha Mandir. Oh my God, the Tota Gopinatha deity is the most beautiful deity I've ever seen. I don't know if any of you have seen Tota, this deity in India, in Puri Temple. Not near the Jagannath Puri Temple. Anyway, the Tota Gopinath Mandir, if you've never been there, you should definitely go. It's a very, very spiritual place, and it's not far away from Jagannath Puri. And so, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura would spend long hours discussing Krishna and chanting the holy name, especially at Tota Gopinatha Mandir, the tomb of Haridas Thakura, the Siddha Bakula, and the Gambhira. He made notes on the Vedanta Sutra, which were used by Sri Shyamalala Goswami in the edition of the Govinda Bhasya by Baladev Vidyabhusan that he published. Near the Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, in a large house adjacent, the Narayana Chata Mata, on the fifth day of the dark fortnight of Magda, in the year 1874, the fourth son of Bhaktivinoda Thakura took birth. He was named Bimal Prasad, later known as Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Jai Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. As a householder, Bhaktivinoda had 2 wives and no less than 10 children. Well, one of his wives died, then he got married a second time. He wasn't like a Muslim, having 2 wives or 10 wives or whatever. And no less than 10 children, of which the great Vaishnava scholar Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, was one. Bimal Prasad, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, was born in the Sri Purushottama Kshetra, or Jagannath Puri, on the 6th February 1874, answering the prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur for the Lord to send a ray of Vishnu to preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. He was given the name Bimal Prasad, or Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. When the child was 6 months old, Lord Jagannath's cart stopped in front of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house in Puri for 3 days during the procession. Bhaktivinoda told his wife, Bhagavati Devi, to bring out the child for darshan of Lord Jagannatha. As she placed the child before the Lord, a garland from the Lord encircled the baby boy, and the first grain ceremony, Anaprasna, was performed at that time with Jagannatha Prasad. Bimal Prasad stayed in Puri for 10 months after his birth and then went to Bengal by palanquin on his mother's lap. His infancy was spent in Nadia districts, Ranagat, hearing topics of Sri Hari from his mother. Srila Bhaktivinoda and his wife were orthodox and virtuous. They never allowed their children to eat anything other than prasada, nor to associate with bad company. Ladies, every lady and every husband, take a lot of attention to this. Srila Bhaktivinoda and his wife were orthodox and virtuous. They never allowed their children to eat anything other than prasada, nor to associate with bad company. One day, when Bimal Prasad was still a small child of no more than 4 years, his father mildly rebuked him for eating a mango not yet duly offered to the Lord Krishna. Bimal Prasad, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, although only a child, considered himself an offender to the Lord and vowed never to eat mangoes again. This was a vow that he would follow throughout his life. By the time Bimal Prasad, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, was 7 years old, he had memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita and could even explain its verses, giving wonderful purports. His father then began training him in proofreading and printing, in conjunction with the publishing of the Vaishnava magazine Sadjana Tosami. 2 years earlier, Kamala Prasada, the third son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, had taken birth. In 1874, Bhaktivinoda Thakur discovered the Raja of Puri had misappropriated 80,000 rupees for sense gratification. This money belonged to the temple, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur forced the Raja to give Lord Jagannath Bhoga 52 times daily. This diminished the money quickly that the Raja had stolen. The Raja was angry at Bhaktivinoda Thakur and began, with the help of 50 pundits, a Maran Karmani Tantric Yagya meant for killing Bhaktivinoda Thakura, which went on for 30 days. When the last oblations were poured, it was the king's son and not the pure-hearted Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur who died. Haribo, Haribo, that's what happens. You mess around with people like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. 2 years earlier, Kamala Prasada, the third son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, had taken birth. In 1874, Bhaktivinoda Thakur discovered the Raja of Puri had misappropriated 80,000 rupees for sense gratification. This money belonged to the temple, so Bhaktivinoda Thakura forced the Raja to give Lord Jagannatha Bhoga 52 times daily. This diminished the money quickly. The Raja was angry at Bhaktivinoda Thakur and began, with the help of 50 pundits, a Maran Karmani Tantric Yagya, meant for killing Bhaktivinoda Thakura, which went on for 30 days. When the last oblations were poured, it was the king's son and not the pure-hearted Bhaktivinoda Thakur who died. Wow, now you know, in India there's a lot of black magic. But if you strictly follow Krishna consciousness, never engage in any sinful activities, no matter how bad of a curse someone makes on you, it will not hurt you in any way. But if you're a little wishy-washy, that curse will definitely influence you even up to the point of death. So you have to be very careful. First of all, don't associate with people who are engaging in cursing and engaging in sinful activities. And above all, we should always strictly follow Krishna consciousness and never at all think of hurting anyone. But in India, there is a lot of black magic that takes place. Is that right? Yeah. And it's very dangerous. So, but if you're pure in heart and following Krishna consciousness, those what you would call types of desires to kill you will not work. You'll be protected by Krishna. Okay, so while in Narala, which is another town, his two famous books, Sri Krishna Samhita and Krishna Kalpa Taru, were published. In a letter dated April 16, 1880, Dr. Reinhold Rost wrote to Bhaktivinoda Thakura, quote, by representing Krishna's character and his worship in a more sublime and transcendental light than has here, hitherto, in other words, has never been done before. You have rendered an essential service to your co-religionists, and no one would have taken more delight in your work than my departed friend Goldstucker, the sincerest and most zealous advocate the Hindus have had in Europe. These two works brought the devotional attention of many of India's pundits and educated men. So what were those two works? There were Sri Krishna Samhita and Krishna Kalpataru. In 1877, Varada Prasada was born, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura's fifth son. In 1878, Viraja Prasada was born, the sixth son. Both appeared at Ranagata. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura took Pancharatrika Diksha, initiation from Bipin Bihari Goswami, descended from the Janava family of Bhaganapara. At the same time, his seventh son, Lalita Prasad, appeared at Ranagata. He's got, look, all these kids he's got. He had 10 to 11 kids, and most of them were sons. Many people had adopted Vaishnavism at Haraila, but they could not tell who was a Vaishnava and who was not a Vaishnava. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura gave them shelter and instructed them on this matter most exactingly. Once, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura and his son, an assistant, went to see Bhaktivinoda's guru, Vipin Bihari Goswami. Vipin Bihari Goswami was coming in the disciplic succession from Sri Gadadhar Pandit, the plenary portion of Srimati Radharani. The followers of this line are generally Raghunatha Bhaktas, worshipping Sri Gaura Gadadhar in a loving, spontaneous mood of bhava. This mode of worship is not for those who are materially confined by the dictates of the body and senses, but for those who are already experiencing their eternal loving relationship with the divine couple, Shri Radha Krishna. There is an interesting little story which captures the mood of Bhaktivinoda and that of his son, named Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In their Siddhanta Deha, as pure Nitya Siddha, eternal associates of Lord Krishna, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Kamala Manjari, one of the maidservants of the gopis, and Siddhanta Saraswati, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is her assistant, Nayana Manjari. So now this is what you would call private knowledge of who is Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the pastimes of Krishna, in the intimate pastimes of Krishna, and his son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They are both Manjaris serving Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's dealings with his Diksha Guru were always exemplary, even though Vipin Bihari Goswami was not very advanced. Being a Kanista Adhikari, meaning a devotee on the lowest level, he's a Kanista Adhikari Guru. Whereas the Thakura was an Uttama Adhikari on the highest level, Paramahansa, of the highest order. Still, Bhaktivinoda always played the humble disciple. On one such occasion, in the presence of young Siddhanta Saraswati or Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur paid his respectful obeisances to his guru, Vipin Bihari Goswami, replied by placing his feet on the Thakura's head. So this Vipin Bihari Goswami put his feet on the head of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. For the young fiery Siddhanta Saraswati or Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, this was too much. It was one thing that his father had accepted this person as his formal initiating spiritual master, but this was going too far. Srila Siddhanta Saraswati was only 7 years old at the time. But when Bhaktivinoda Thakur left the room, leaving the two of them alone, Siddhanta Saraswati, meaning Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, decided to set things straight. He said, "You are a big, big guru, and you place your feet on the heads of those who you don't know. If you knew who the Thakur is, you would not do it. But you do not know. My father is a great exalted Nitya Siddha," meaning he's an eternal, perfected, pure devotee, eternal associate of Sri Radharani and Krishna, who has come here to fulfill their mission. Do you think that you are so advanced that you can place your feet on the head of such a person? I think not. You have proven yourself to be a Kanistha Adhikari, a neophyte on the lowest level of Krishna consciousness, by not being able to distinguish between those who are advanced and those who are less advanced. Therefore, I suggest that you desist from this practice any further. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura then re-entered the room, and the conversation changed. Later that day, Vipin Bihari Goswami mentioned to Bhaktivinoda Thakura, "Your son is bold to the point of being rude." Later, Thakur Bhaktivinoda found out about the conversation and used to jokingly glorify his exalted son to his friends, saying how he is fearless, that he has even chastised my guru, Vipin Bihari Goswami. Reflecting on this incident, we can see that even if one's spiritual master is not an Uttama Adhikari, Mahabhagavat, devotee of the Lord, still one should be satisfied and serve him anyway. Bhaktivinoda Thakura, who himself was certainly a Mahabhagavat, set the example how to serve and show respects. On the other side of the transcendental coin, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati showed a nice lesson to us. We should not show ourselves to be more advanced than we really are, unless we commit offenses against those who are actually advanced. In 1881, Bhaktivinoda Thakura began publishing Sajjana Toshani, his Vaishnava journal. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had previously pilgrimaged to Kasi, Prayagya, Mathura, and Vrindavana, in other words, the Vraja Mandala, in 1866. At the close of his stay in Narayla, he desired to again see the land of Vraja. He took 3 months for this purpose. At this time, he met Sri Jagannath Dasa Babaji there, who had a program by which he moved every 6 months between Navadvipa and Vrindavana. Meeting him, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura accepted him as his eternally worshipful Siksha instructing guru. So that proves that you can have an initiating guru, and you can also have a Siksha guru. In this case, the Siksha guru is more advanced than the Diksha guru. But still, in other words, one must have respect for both. At this time, he met Sri Jagannath Das Babaji there, who had a program by which he moved every 6 months between Navadvipa and Vrindavana. Meeting him, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura accepted him as his eternally worshipable shiksha, or instructing guru. During his pilgrimage at this time, he dealt with a gang of dacoits known as the Kanshaharas, who robbed and killed pilgrims. He gave evidence to the government, and a commission was formed to wipe out this scourge, these nasty people. From Vrindavana, he came to Calcutta and bought a house at 181 Maniktala Street, now called Ramasha Datta Street, near Bidana Park. He started daily worship of Sri Giridhari, the transcendental form of Krishna, who appeared in the form of Govardhana Hill, and called the house Bhakti Bhavan. He was appointed head of the subdivision of Barasa. Okay. It's 9:20. All right, well, we got another 10 minutes and we'll stop. In 1881, in the course of excavating the construction of the Bhakti Bhavana at Rambagan in Calcutta, a deity of Kurmadeva was unearthed. In other words, they found this deity when they were digging or something. After initiating his 7-year-old son, Bhaktivinoda entrusted Bimal with the service of deity Kurmadeva. The well-known novelist Bankim Chandra met Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura at Barasa. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura had written a book about Krishna and showed it to Bhaktivinoda Thakura, who preached to Bankim Chandra for 4 days, taking little food and hardly any sleep. The result was Bankim Chandra changed his ideas, which were mundane speculations about Krishna, and his book to conform with the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura used to say, "Knowledge is power." On April 1, 1884, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura was appointed the senior deputy magistrate of Serampur, where he admitted Bimala in the Serampur High School. When Bimala was a mere student in class 5, he invented a new method of writing named Bichanto. During this period, he took lessons in mathematics and astrology from Pandita Mahesachandra Chudamani. However, he preferred to read devotional books rather than the school texts. During the last year of his stay at Barasat, 1886, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura published an edition of the Bhagavad Gita with the Sanskrit commentary of Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, which he translated into Bengali, the Rasika Ranjana translation. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had undertaken this task at the request of Babu Sarada Charana Mitra, ex-judge of the Calcutta High Commission. Srimad Bankima Chandra wrote the preface, acknowledging his own indebtedness to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. He noted that all Bengali readers would be indebted to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur for his saintly work. From Barasat, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was transferred to Sri Ramapur. He visited the residence of Udarana Datta Thakur, a great associate of Lord Nityananda. At Saptagram, at Kanakula, he visited the place of Abhirama Thakur and saw the place of another great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vasu Ramananda, at Kulin Grama. At Sri Ramapura, he composed and published his masterly writing, Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, and also the Vaishnava Siddhanta Mala, Prema Pradipa, and Manasiksha. He also was publishing Sajjana Toshani on a regular basis. In Calcutta, he set up the Sri Chaitanya Yantra, a printing press at the Bhakti Bhavana, upon which he printed Maladhara's Sri Krishna Vijaya and his own Amnaya Sutra, and the Chaitanya Upanishad of the Atharva Veda. Finding the Chaitanya Upanishad was a difficult task. Hardly anyone in Bengal had heard of it. Consequently, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura had to travel to many places in Bengal looking for it. Finally, one devoted Vaishnava Pandita named Madhusudana Dasa, sometimes found listed in the Guru Parampara listings, sent an old copy he'd been keeping with him at Sambalapura for Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote a Sanskrit commentary on the book and called it Sri Chaitanya Charanamrita. Madhusudana Dasa Mahasaya translated the verses into Bengali. This translation was called Amrita Bindu. It was a sellout when published. In Calcutta, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura started the Sri Vishwa Vaishnava Sabha, dedicated to preaching of pure bhakti as taught by Lord Chaitanya. To publicize the work of the society, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura published a small booklet entitled Vishwa Vaishnava Kalpavi. Also, he published his own edition of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita with his Amrita Prabhava Bhasya commentary, and he introduced the Chaitanyabda or Chaitanya era calendar and gave assistance to the propagation of the Chaitanya Panjika. In other words, the what do you call that? The months of the year, which established the feast day of Gaura Purnima. He lectured and gave readings on books like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Srila Rupa Goswami in various Vaishnava societies. He published the Hindu Herald, an English periodical, a detailed account of Sri Chaitanya's life. It was at this time that the learned Vaishnavas recognized Bhaktivinoda Thakura and given the honorary title as Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Okay, we'll stop right there. It goes on and on. It's all nectar. We can understand what a great person Bhaktivinoda Thakura was. He had 10 children. He had 2 wives. One of them died. He got another wife. He was a magistrate. He had a gold watch that he kept on a chain, and he'd keep looking at it. And therefore, he would, he was very careful about time because he had a very, very strict schedule. So let's say he started at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then he would take his bath, and then he would chant his rounds, and then he would eat something, and then he would go to the magistrate position, then he would have some lunch, and he would come back, and then around 4 o'clock or 3 or 4 o'clock, he would chant all his rounds, and he would also preach and meet people and preach. In other words, 24 hours in a day, he was engaged in Krishna consciousness. And he had this gold watch on one of those old-time watches that you don't put on your finger, but you have a chain, and you hold the chain, and he would open it and make sure that he was on time for all the different things that he had to do. Okay, so these are the lives of pure devotees. It's good to hear about the lives of pure devotees to understand what it means to be Krishna conscious. We have to have control of our mind and senses and be regulated in our activities every day. That is the secret to success in spiritual life, to be regulated, doing things at the same time and every day, and not breaking that schedule. So thank you very much. I think I'll stop right there. Are there any questions anyone would like to ask? Or comments? Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So Maharaji, so when Krishna was small, he used to stole mutton. When he got big, why he not stole mutton?
I didn't understand one word you said. You want to say it again?
So Maharaji,
I understand that.
Krishna was small. He used to eat mutton and butter. When he got big, why he used to not eat mutton and butter?
Did you understand what he said? All right, wait a minute. Let's one at a time. Butter. Makan. Yeah. How do you know he didn't eat makan when he grew up? Were you there? Were you there with Krishna?
No.
How do you know he didn't eat makan when he grew up?
I think my dad told me.
What did he say? Oh, his dad told him. Oh, that's the culprit. Where's the dad? Okay, but no, but okay, that's good. You can eat makan. No one's going to stop. Krishna likes to eat makan also. Yeah. All right, Hare Krishna. Anybody else has a joke? I mean, anybody else has a statement to make?
No, I just got from your reading, I just got a realization. It's like Bhaktivinoda Thakura preached this Gaudiya Vaishnavism. However, people criticized him for not wearing the marks of Vaishnava, Tilak, Kantimala.
Yeah.
And the person who actually criticized him was punished by Lord Jagannath and asked him to seek the mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So it still applies to us. There may be people out
What?
there.
Yeah.
It still applies in the current world. There may be people who are genuine Vaishnavas preaching it, but they may not belong to ISKCON or somebody else. So we still should be careful. Not
Yeah.
criticizing. That's what.
We should be careful not even to step on an ant. Yeah, Vaishnava has to be very careful not to hurt anyone, or animal, or insect, or anything. We should always be very, very careful. Okay, my dear devotees, unless there are any other questions, we will stop now and pick it up in about 11 hours. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadma.
બંધ મોઈ સાવધાના માટે જહાર પ્રસાદે ભાઈ એ બાબા કોરિયા જાય
Krishna Prati Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya Arana Koriyo Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttama Gati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Chakshudan dilo jai janme janme Prabhu se Chakshudan dilo jai janme janme Prabhu se Divignan Hire Prakashito Divignan Hire Prakashito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate Vedega Jahara Charito Vedega Jahara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Srila Prabhupada Pasita Pavana Aha Prabhu Koro Doya Deo More Padachaya Aha Prabhu Koro Divija Sushuti Bhuvana Srila Prabhupada Doya Sharana Jaya Prabhupada 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 Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pasyacha Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Nitagora Haribo, 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 Nitagora Haribo. Nitagora Haribo, 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 Nitagora Haribo.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki jai. So, Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramadhipadigacarya Ashtota Satasri Sri Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Goswami Maharaj ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Srila Rastapur ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की समवेत भक्तवृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories. Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura Disappearance Mahotsav ki. So now let's stand and we'll do Pushpanjali. At the end, we all offer 3 times. Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya
Om Jnanatimirandhasya
Jnananjanashalakaya
Jnananjana Salakaya
Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Chakshurunmilitam Ena
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Sthapitam Yena Bhutale
Sthapitam Ena Bhutale
Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam
Rupa Kadamahyam
Dadati Swapadantikam
Dadati Swapadantikam
Vandeham Shri Guru
Vandeham Shri Guru
Shri Yuta Padakamalam
Shri Yuta Padakamalam
Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha
Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha
Shri Rupam Sagrajatam
Sagrajatam
Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam
Sargana Raghunatanitam Tam Sajivam
Sadvaitam Savadutam
Advaitam Savadutam
Parijana Sahitam
Parijana Sahitam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Sri Radha Krishna Padam
Sri Radha Krishna Padam
Sahagana Lalita
Sahagana Lalita
Sri Vishakhanvitamscha
Sri Vishakhanvitamsya
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya
Krishna Prestaya Bhutale
Krishna Prestaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhaktivedanta
Srimate Bhaktivedanta
Swamine iti namine
Swamin iti namine
Namaste Saraswati Deve
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Gauravani Pracharine
Gauravani Pracharine
Nirvishesha Sunyavadi
Nirvishesha Sunyavadi
Paschatya Deshatarine
Pachatya Deshatarine
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya
Krishna Prastaya Bhutale
Krishna Prestaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta
Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta
Saraswati iti namine
Saraswati iti namine
Sri Vashabhanavi Devi
Sri Vashabhanavi Devi
Daitaya Kripabdhaye
Daitaya Kripabdaye
Krishna Sambandha Vijnana
Krishna Sambandha Vijnana
Daine Prabhave Namaha
Daine Prabhave Namaha
Madhura Premadhya
Madhurojvala Premadhya
Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida
Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida
Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti
Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti
Vigrahaya Namostute
Vigrahaya Namostute
Namaste Gauravani
Namaste Gauravani
Sri Murtaye Dinatarine
Sri Mutaye Dinatarine
Rupanuga Viruddhapa
Rupanuga Viruddhapa
Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine
Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine
Namo Gaura Kishoraya
Namo Gaura Kishoraya
Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye
Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye
Vipralamba Rasambode
Vipralambara Sambode
Padambojayat ते नमः
पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः
नमो भक्तिविनोदाय
नमो भक्तिविनोदाय
सच्चिदानन्दनामिने
सच्चिदानन्दनामिने
गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय
गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय
रूपानुगवरायते
रूपानुगवरायते
गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं
गौरवीर्भावभूमेस्त्वं
निर्देष्टा सज्जनप्रियः
निर्देष्टसज्जनप्रियः
वैष्णवा सार्वभौमा श्री
वैष्णवः सार्वभौमः श्री
जगन्नाथाय ते नमः
जगन्नाथाय ते नमः
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च
कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
नमो महावदन्याय
नमो महावदन्याय
कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते
कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते
कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य
कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य
नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः
नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः
पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं
पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं
भक्तरूपास्वरूपकं
भक्तरूपास्वरूपकं
भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं
भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं
नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं
नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं
हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो
हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो
दीनबन्धो जगत्पते
दीनबन्धो जगत्पते
गोपेश गोपिकान्त
गोपेश गोपिकान्त
राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते
राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते
जयतं सुरतौ पंगो
जयतं सुरतो पंगो
मम मन्दमतेर्गति
मम मन्दमतिर्गति
मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्बोजौ
मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्भोजो
राधामदनमोहनौ
राधामदनमोहनौ
दिव्याद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः
दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः
श्रीमद्रत्नागरसिंहासनस्थौ
श्रीमद्रत्नागरसिंहासनस्थितौ
श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवौ
श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवौ
प्रेष्टालभि सेव्यमानौ स्मरामि
प्रेष्टालभि सेव्यमानो स्मरामि
श्रीमान् रसारसारम्भि
श्रीमन् रासरसारम्भि
वंशीवटततस्थिता
वंशीवटतटस्थितः
कर्षन् वेणुस्वनिर्गोपैर्
कर्षन् वेणुस्वनेर्गोपी
गोपीनादाश्रियस्तु नः
गोपीनाथश्रियस्तु नः
तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी
तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी
राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी
राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी
वृषभानुसुते देवी
वृषभानुसुते देवी
प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये
प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य
प्रभु नित्यानंद
प्रभु नित्यानंद
श्री अद्वैत गदाधर
श्री अद्वैत गदाधर
श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे राम हरे राम
हरे राम हरे राम
राम राम हरे हरे
राम राम हरे हरे
नमो भक्ति विनोदाय
नमो भक्ति विनोदाय
सच्चिदानंद नामिने
सच्चिदानंद नामिने
गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय
गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय
रूपानुगवरायते
रूपानुगवरायते
नमो भक्ति विनोदाय
नमो भक्ति विनोदाय
सच्चिदानंद नामिने
सच्चिदानंद नामिने
गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय
गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय
रूपानुगवरायते
रूपानुगवरायते
नमो भक्ति विनोदाय
नमो भक्ति विनोदाय
सच्चिदानंद नामिने
सच्चिदानंद नामिने
गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय
गौर शक्ति स्वरूपाय
रूपानुगवरायते
रूपानुगवरायते
एष पुष्पांजलि
एष पुष्पांजलि स्वाहा
हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे
पुष्पांजलि समर्पयामि एष पुष्पांजलि समर्पयामि
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you for picking up all the flowers. And if there are any more flowers on the carpet, please pick them up. And then we need some volunteers to take the prasadam down and serve everyone. Hare Krishna. And this weekend is Rath Yatra. So please start going to our social web pages and like Facebook, Instagram, if you have accounts. Start liking the Rath Yatra advertisements which are coming, and tell all your friends, families, if you know some associations, they can just come and walk in the parade. Right? Hare Krishna. And His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, we all know, he's actually giving the first class session here on Friday, and on Saturday in Balaji Temple. So on Sunday he will be at the Rath Yatra parade. So please take association of His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. Hare Krishna.